Hi there, Mike Perez, owner of Mastering the Young Band and MikePerezBand.com. I want to talk to you about the first 5 notes set 1 in my Essential Foundations supplemental technique and warm-up book. The first 5 notes set 1 is really the transition from when you taught your students how to form an embouchure with their beginning methods. So for flutes, that's head joint. For clarinets, that's barrel and mouthpiece. For brass, I really recommend their mouthpiece with a tube. And then for percussion, of course, their grip and their stroke. Once they have those fundamentals down consistently, they can form a consistent embouchure, a characteristic embouchure, if you will. And once you've taught them how to play their first note or 2, then it's time to start transitioning them into their first 5 notes. For most instruments, that's concert B flat, C, D, E flat, and F. For horn, I do recommend that they start on their C, D, E, F, and G, which is down a 5th from the band. So it's concert C is where I actually like for the horns to start, so they're in the middle range. The first 5 notes, the whole purpose of this set is to get students reading and playing their first 5 notes. It's important that when you transition to this, that you've already taught them basic hand position on their instruments, whatever instrument that they play, and that you've also taught them basic notation of their music staff, whether that is the G clef or F clef, that the students understand how the musical alphabet teaches them the lines and spaces. If you use acrostics like Elvis's Guitar Broke Down Friday, Good Burritos Don't Fall Apart, any of those fun acrostics for kids to know their lines and spaces, that's great. But I do recommend that they already have that background knowledge before starting their first 5 notes. So just a little cursory things for your students to know before they get into this first 5 notes set 1. So one of the primary objectives of this set is for fluency for the first 5 notes for your students. Playing notes, going between 2 notes, going between 3 notes, going up and down different notes. It's a lot of different ways for them to play these first 5 notes. Changing notes, teaching them that they need to push their air as they connect all of their notes is also a really important concept, teaching them not to huff and puff as they play, but to blow their air as their fingers change so they don't stop that when they're going or stopping their vibration if they're a brass player or vibration on any of the wind instruments. Really important on these first 5 notes set 1, students should not be using their tongue yet. They should be using lip starts for all of this. Don't let them use their tongue when starting this set. You can always go back to it once you have taught them how to tongue, but I will say my first 5 notes set 2 is really designed for students to start using their tongue on that set. So again, do not use tongue on this first 5 notes set 1. One of the concepts you need to teach your students, besides their note names and fingerings for all these exercises, is to plan ahead and prepare their fingerings. I know a lot of times we start on concert F for brass players or for clarinet. Their fingers aren't actually pushing down any of their keys. As you start playing some of these lines, make sure as part of your setup process to tell the students to get their valves prepared, their fingers prepared for the note. So for instance, if you are playing the note, let's say concert E flat, you want to make sure that when you're doing that concert E flat, that your trumpets have their 3rd position down. Clarinets have their thumb ready to go. Flutes have their fingers ready. What you will see with beginners more often than not is you'll count off, you'll go 1, 2, and then they try to snap their fingers on the start of the note. That's going to hurt their note start. So as a teacher, it's really important in these beginning stages to go, okay, set. Now get your fingers ready for the note, push them down, and then scan the room, make sure the kids have them down, and then count off. 1, 2, and then they play the note. So planning ahead and preparing that first note is really important to your students' note starts. So that's something that you can really begin building that habit on this set of music. You will notice when I just did that count off, I do 1, 2, and I do still do the nose breath. I don't do a mouth breath with my beginners for most of the first, for me, it's about 8 weeks. I see my students equivalent of, even though I'm on a block schedule, it's the equivalent of every day. But it's really once my students can play the first 5 notes really well and even an octave, that's when I start teaching them to breathe in through the corners of their mouth. But for now, it's all no starts. That way their embouchure is set. This set, the first 5 notes, is also the time to start teaching your students how their fingering chart works. Now, if you use my fingering chart that I have developed, it goes by column by note name. So for instance, if you say, okay, find the note B flat trombones, they're gonna see their B flats lined up in a column. If you go, okay, trumpets, please find your E on the fingering chart, they're gonna see their E's in a column. And the reason why I designed my fingering charts that way is if you've ever watched a young band student try to find a fingering in a fingering chart, some of your slower learners, it can take them 30, 45 seconds. It can take them a minute to find it because with the chromatic fingering charts, they're scanning, they're looking, and they're just trying to find the note. Rather than figuring out the note name and trying to find it that way, they will scan. More often than not, young band students will find the right note name, but it'll be in the wrong octave. So I really encourage you, if you haven't seen my video on my fingering charts or purchased my fingering charts, really recommend those because they're so much easier for the young band student to learn. Regardless of what fingering chart you use, this is the time to teach them how to read their fingering chart. Get them to open it, get them to understand how it's laid out. And what I actually do, have my students get their pencil, and we actually circle concert F. We circle around the entire fingering. If students have highlighters, I'll even have them highlight, put a box around it, just kind of go, okay, this is concert F. This is the most important note that you're gonna be playing in band class for a long time. Here's where it is on your fingering chart. And then as you're building down or up, they always have that as a basis to understand where their other notes are in relation to that concert F. So marking the notes they play, and I actually have my students circle every new note that we learn in band class. So when we learn a new note, first thing I do is, we'll go through the staff and go, okay, why is this note named this way? And we use the musical alphabet or an acrostic. Then we go to our fingering chart and go, okay, find the note. So you find the note name, and then they find the correct octave, then they get their pencil, and they circle the note name. And then after weeks, months, students go, whoa, look at all the notes that we have learned so far. And especially by the end of beginning band, they're really impressed with all the notes they have learned from that fingering chart. As mentioned to you, in all of these exercises, reinforce that 2-count breath with your students. Teach them rest, ready, and play position for these exercises. Tempo 72 is what I recommend for a lot of your beginning band exercise. So you have the metronome going, you go, okay, relax. And I go to ready position, and I have them bring their instrument up to ready, tapping their toe, having them check their posture before they go into set. And I'll go, okay, set. Check your angles. Is your chin up? Look at your thumb. I remind them of hand position. Okay, look at your first note. Get your fingers set for that first note. Click them down. And then once the students are still for a few seconds, then I count off. 1, 2, da, and then they play their note. So when you're going through these exercises, take the time to get everybody sitting still, have the kids relaxed, and go through each step. Try not to rush into everything. Get the room calm, get the kids calm, and they're gonna have better quality reps and play everything better for you. I also use these exercises as a way of making sure students are touching the rests when they're playing. You want them to have their sound touch the rest after all these whole notes. So they go, da. And how I teach that to them is when we count the rhythm, we go 1 dash, 2 dash, 3 dash, 4, touch. 1 dash, 2. And so we count it that way. We actually say the word touch to remind them that their sound touches the rest. When they're playing, I'll have them play a line, da, 2, da, 2, and I'll have them say that 2, and then of course they do the 2-count breath. I will say the touch for them while they are playing. I don't have them say touch because if they say touch, they're actually ending the sound early. So I will say touch for them, and in the room you'll see I actually have them touch the rest. So as they're playing, da, touch, da, touch. So I say touch. I don't have them say touch while they're playing. For percussion, really important. So I have in my essential foundations, I've written out every sticking for your percussionists. I don't want it to leave to chance what they're doing with their stickings. I really want them to develop being able to read stickings, understand, especially right hand lead, which is the most common sticking for percussion. And then those times where I do want them doing specialty rudiments like doubles, paradiddles, they are intentional for the percussionists. So what I will have percussion do is I will have them, maybe the first time we play it, I'll have them just say the stickings. So they'll go right, 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 right. Left, 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 and so on. A second step, sometimes I'll have them get their sticks. And this is what I call air drum. It's where they play on their forearms and they'll go right, right, left, left, right, right, left, left, right, left, and so on. And then that final step, when they are playing, I have them say their stickings as they're playing. If we do enough reps of something, I will tell them on the last rep, they can just play and not say anything. But have your percussionists audibilize their stickings while they're playing, just to really help reinforce what stickings they're playing and how important they are. Take your time on the first 5 notes set 1. It is the most important transitionary step to getting your students reading their music well. You don't necessarily have to get through all 16 of the exercises before opening up your band book, but you want to get pretty far in that and then go to your band book. And you will be surprised at how well your kids can play their band book songs. That's how I really use my band book for, are the tunes, the songs for students. That first time we open the book, we've been spending quite a bit of time on the first 5 notes set 1. And then when we open that book, I have them go right to Hot Cross Buns. They can play it almost instantly. In fact, the kids think it's pretty easy compared to what they've been doing on the first 5 notes set 1. So take your time on the first 5 notes set 1. It's one of the most important exercises you'll do at the beginning of the year with your beginners.